General Hospital today will reveal. The latest revelations from General Hospital have opened a floodgate of emotion and speculation surrounding Lulu Spencer and her growing proximity to Nathan West. For longtime viewers and invested fans, the reintroduction of Lulu into the lives of Port Charles's core characters was anticipated with cautious curiosity. However, no one could have predicted the emotional storm that would follow her return, least of all Maxie Jones, who unknowingly finds herself at the center of an unraveling triangle she never saw coming. Lulu, once the epitome of fierce loyalty and moral conviction, now stands at a dangerous crossroads between personal longing and ethical restraint. The moment she pressed her lips against Nathan's, her best friend's husband, no less marked a pivotal shift not only in her storyline, but in her very identity. What makes Lulu's internal struggle even more poignant is the context in which it unfolded. Nathan wasn't just any man. He was the one who grounded her and gave her the kind of unconditional love she never thought she deserved. Maxie's tragic accident and subsequent coma left Nathan emotionally stranded, longing for connection, stability, and a shoulder to lean on. Lulu, herself no stranger to grief and loss, found a familiar comfort in Nathan's kindness. What began as mutual support between two friends quickly escalated into something much more intimate, and in hindsight irreversible. The timing couldn't be worse. Maxie, though unconscious, remains ever present in the hearts of those who love her, and Lulu knows better than anyone what Nathan meant to her friend. What makes her transgression all the more damning? This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment lapse in judgment. It was a collision of loneliness, suppressed affection, and emotional vulnerability, a recipe for betrayal cloaked in human weakness. Still, viewers find themselves questioning whether this was an isolated moment of weakness for Lulu or a deeper indication of burgeoning feelings that have been simmering below the surface for much longer than she'd cared to admit. Her actions seem to hint at the latter. The weight of guilt hangs heavy over her, yet it has not stopped her from rationalizing that perhaps her connection with Nathan could be something real, something deserved. The psychological realization creates a dangerous precedent. Lulu's long history of being the moral compass in many chaotic situations is now under scrutiny. The line between right and wrong, friend and rival, loyalty and desire has blurred. In the emotionally charged atmosphere of Port Charles, boundaries that once seemed absolute now feel malleable, vulnerable to being refined by heartbreak and longing. Lulu may tell herself she acted out of pain and desperation, but underneath that is quiet, undeniable hope that Nathan might return those feelings and choose her, even if only subconsciously. What comes next will likely fracture long-standing relationships. If and when Maxie awakens and learns the truth, there will be no bandage big enough to mend the wound of betrayal from her closest confidant. Lulu in her heart must know this, and yet she continues to struggle with her emotions, torn between doing the right thing by stepping away and facing the ache of emotional isolation, or following her heart into treacherous waters that could redefine not only her bond with Nathan, but also destroy the foundational friendship she built with Maxie. The stakes were staggering, especially when considering that Maxie's support was one of the few constants in Lulu's often turbulent life. Sacrificing for that shot at love with Nathan would not be a romantic triumph. It would be a painful forfeiture of everything Lulu once stood for. And what of Nathan? His own heart is a battlefield. He may be grieving, confused, and pulled in several directions, but the kiss wasn't entirely one-sided. That he didn't immediately recoil or later confront Lulu suggests a mutual undercurrent of emotional confusion and possible attraction. He, too, is vulnerable. He, too, has spent sleepless nights waiting for Maxie to wake, searching for answers in empty silence and clinging to any sliver of human warmth he can find. Lulu became that warmth, that lifeline, but whether that connection can or should evolve into something more remains to be seen. If Nathan chooses to engage further with Lulu, it may not just cost him Maxie's love. It could upend his entire moral standing, transforming him from grieving husband to emotional opportunist. This entire situation forces a broader reflection on themes deeply embedded in General Hospital's legacy loyalty: redemption, emotional desperation, and the breaking point of even the most well-intentioned hearts. Lulu and Nathan are by design two people who often act with conviction and a sense of justice. But they are also human. And humans, especially those weathered by trauma, are susceptible to mistakes that can't be neatly corrected. The narrative here is not just about a kiss. It's about what that kiss symbolizes: the collapse of a moral structure, the surfacing of long-hidden emotions, and the shattering consequences that follow a single moment of blurred judgment. In the coming weeks, the fallout is inevitable. Maxie will not remain unconscious forever. The question is whether the damage will already be irreparable by the time she awakens. Will she return to find her world intact, or discover that the two people she trusted most have rewritten their story at the cost of hers? And more hauntingly, will Lulu allow herself to cross the line again, knowing that doing so could mean losing herself in the process? This storyline is not just about romantic entanglement. It's a slow unraveling of character identity, and trust an emotional storm brewing beneath the polished halls of Port Charles. And if past stories have taught us anything, it's that no one escapes a storm like this unscathed. The newest developments on General Hospital have fans on edge as the emotional whirlwind surrounding Maxie Jones looms closer than ever. In a soap steeped in betrayals, secrets, and second chances, it is rare to witness a character pushed so squarely into the epicenter of a devastating love triangle as Maxie are about to be. The anticipation is palpable as every sign points to an inevitable emotional implosion, Maxie awakening to a reality in which two men from her past, both of whom have defined her in very different ways, are once again competing for her heart. Or are they? That's the deeper tragedy. Because while viewers expect Maxie to be torn between Damien Spinelli and Nathan West, there are quiet, troubling signals that Nathan may no longer be the man she once loved, if he ever truly was in the first place. For Damien, the agony is already unbearable. His world has been suspended in time, breath held, knees to the floor, waiting for the woman he has never stopped loving to open her eyes and give him the answer he has silently prayed for. All these years, Spinelli was never the one to demand anything from Maxie. Instead, he loved her from the sidelines, respected her choices, raised their daughter with compassion, and harbored a loyalty so fierce it withstood heartbreak, distance, and rejection. But now everything has shifted. Her return from the brink of death should have been the miracle he longed for. And yet he lives in quiet fear that her first words may not be his name, but Nathan's. He knows too well the unfinished chapter that lingers between them, the vows once made, the promises broken only by death itself. With Nathan alive, every emotion Spinelli tried to bury threatens to surface, and he begins to question whether Maxie will see him as her past or her future. But the real twist lies not in Maxie's choice but in Nathan's readiness or lack thereof. Long presumed dead, Nathan's miraculous return should have been a joyous reunion. But what fans are beginning to suspect is far more disturbing. Rather than immediately running back into Maxie's arms, Nathan has spent his time rediscovering himself and perhaps falling into something far deeper and more dangerous with someone else entirely. That someone is Lulu. Stranded during a snowstorm, surrounded by nothing but falling flakes, a dusty bottle of whiskey, and the fragile illusion of safety, Nathan and Lulu crossed a line neither expected to cross. What began as solace turned into something more, a moment of mutual recognition, not just of grief but of desire, of longing, and of a desperate need to feel human again. But beneath that moment lies a much darker question: what if this man isn't truly Nathan at all? Viewers have begun to speculate that the Nathan who returned might not be the genuine article. Is he a clone, a pawn in a broader WSB experiment, a product of mind manipulation? Every interaction, every memory he struggles to recall, every small hesitation when speaking of Maxie, adds fuel to the fire. If Nathan truly spent 7 years unaware of his separation from the woman he claimed to love more than anything, how does he now fall so easily for someone else, and worse, for Maxie's best friend? The audience knows something is wrong even if the characters don't, and that creeping sense of dread of things being just slightly off casts a shadow over every scene Nathan and Lulu share. No amount of affection, no snowstorm bonding. No shared secrets can erase the fact that Lulu stepped into territory she should never have entered, especially not before Maxie had the chance to confront the truth herself. For Lulu, the emotional toll is escalating. What may have started as comfort and unspoken pain is evolving into a dangerous emotional dependency. She tries to convince herself that she didn't betray Maxie, that she only did what anyone in her place would have done, when faced with loneliness and the complicated resurgence of an old flame. But that's not the whole truth. Deep inside, Lulu knows she crossed a sacred line. And what's worse, she did it without all the facts. Whether or not Nathan is who he claims to be, Lulu allowed herself to become emotionally involved before Maxie could even wake up to process the miracle of her husband's survival. Even if Nathan turns out to be an imposter, the damage has already been done. Maxie's trust both in her husband and her best friend will be shattered. This is the emotional powder keg that General Hospital has been slowly, cruelly constructing. A woman awakening from a coma to a world where nothing is as it was. A man she loved and mourned, whose arms she will likely run to first, possibly not even being the man she remembers. A best friend, once a source of unconditional support, now tangled in betrayal, regret, and forbidden attraction. And a loyal suitor, Spinelli, standing in quiet devastation, realizing that even with the playing field leveled by fate, he may still be the odd man out. There is no clean resolution here. No easy winner in the battle for Maxie's heart. Instead, what lies ahead is a storm of revelations that will not only redefine these characters' relationships, but threaten to tear apart the fabric of trust in Port Charles itself.